In light of Miss Rona, the boys at BGO Pod have adapted a virtual platform to conduct and record interviews with this season's very special opinionated people, or VSOPs for short.
We thank you for bearing with any technical difficulties in advance. This pandemic has been raggedy, but in spite of, the conversations we've had with our VSOPs have been refreshing and were well worth the technical struggle.
This episode is also brought to you by Anchor. If you haven't heard already, Anchor is the easiest way to start your podcast.
Big facts. 1, it's free. 2, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your track straight from your phone or computer.
3, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many, many more. And 4, you can make money with no limited listenership.
It's everything you need for a podcast in one place. Carlton and I have been using Anchor for a few months now, and we're a bit obsessed.
Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Don't wait, honey. Your future listeners are waiting.
Now, enjoy the show.
You have reached the voicemail box of
Carlton Taylor
and Sean Brinkley.
We are unable to answer the phone right now.
So either fuck off or enjoy the show.
Ain't a period.
Yeah.
My God. Today has been exhausting, Sean.
Child. I mean, you see, I'm still in the office, so
You're still at the office. And
no,
get so much kudos.
no, I mean, while I was waiting on you, I mean, I was like still sending emails and stuff. Because I mean, I was running behind today too. But it wasn't, but I mean, it literally because I wasn't doing my job. It was literally because I just have so much shit to do.
Right.
So I don't know what it is either, but I always like that last 30 to 15 minutes of the day. That's when I'm like, I start going in on everything, and I don't know why it takes me forever to get to that point, because I get in the office first thing and I'm just like, child, I'm about to eat my breakfast.
Right.
I'm about to check my emails. I'm about to do some BGO editing. Like I don't have time for y'all. I don't have time for y'all to 12 o'clock. But people don't bother you because you look busy as fuck. You be looking busy as fuck.
Because you be busy.
Yeah, that's not with not with this.
Just not doing your job.
Right. But no, I still have a lot of stuff to get done. So I feel you on a spiritual level. Because I'm doing a lot of post-production work for like virtual stuff.
My computer is yelling. Can you hear it?
You said what?
My computer is yelling at me. Can you hear me? Can you hear it?
Slightly.
Oh my God, this is so embarrassing.
It's whatever.
Happens too.
That's how my
okay. So I had Sean waiting 20 minutes, which longer than that, because I just got my shit together, like 30 minutes for me to transition from my work day, because I do not have a grip still 5 months in on this work from home situation. Like I've really been struggling with this whole thing. I think my house is not equipped with anything that I need to be able to work from home, period. Like right now, my setup is a TV tray, and I have my mic and my fucking microphone, and my fucking MacBook, like sharing the same like 13-inch space. It's an absolute mess. It's more than 13 inches, probably like 21. But it's just, I'm just a mess right now. So I struggled to transition because first off, I was just all over the place today. Like I went to the pool for a second, but I didn't get in the pool. I was just out there with a friend, like doing work. And then I got distracted, so I had to come back inside. And then I'm going on vacation. This thing is like yelling at me. I'm going on vacation, um, like vacation days. Not really a true vacation, but I'm doing like some vacation days tomorrow, to just get away. I need to get away. Like I haven't gotten to fuck in a long time, and it's time for me to get the fuck ASAP.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this goddamn thing is hollering. Let me stop screen recording. I think that's what's doing it.
That'll do it.
Where's the fucking stop. Just shut up.
It's it said you're working me too hard.
And I said I paid to work you hard.
It said you gonna
I swear, y'all gonna hear us talk the most shit about technology during this season because we're literally relying on it for everything.
right. Child, the
I
ghetto.
just don't know. Okay, so that's enough of the intros. It's time for us to get into this other intro for our second subcategory of the season. Pop. That's not true. It's the third. It's the third one, right? Or does it matter?
I don't, child. We can do
It's
the fuck we want to
something.
do.
We going to the next
Right.
category. Shit. We don't know if it's second, third, fourth. We don't know. But we going to the next
Not fourth.
category. And I know. And it's freaking pop culture. And so, okay, I'm taking this thing out too because it's pissing
Pop
me
the
off.
pussy, don't play with me.
Pop, 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 pop block. Pop in the block. Pop sugar. Copyright. I'm sorry.
Pussy puts the pop. Pussy puts the pop in the culture.
What's the name of Pops, the cereal? you know Pops the cereal?
What you say?
Pops the cereal. You
Like
know what Pops
them yellow
Yeah, the yellow sweet corn.
them yellow
sweet
corn looking
corn.
shits.
Yes, those are absolutely delicious, and they make great tasting milk. Show your fucking face. I don't eat cereal that often because it's too processed for me. But I do indulge in my fair share of pups. I like golden. Anyway, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about General Mills and Kellogg's. We're talking about
Right.
pop culture. Oh my goodness. And so per this entire like conversational series, Sean and I are going to open up a conversation about how we feel pop culture has influenced our lives, and has kind of like, I guess in this sense, it'll be like how pop culture has perpetuated who we are as people and our identity as Black, queer identifying men. And so we can just do this like interview style, Sean. Like, oh my God, like go that way. Because I didn't come up with an outline. Life is just a piece of shit, but it's okay. It's okay. And it's cool. And so for me, I guess I just said it was gonna be like question style, and here I am about to go off on a whole different thing. So okay, I'm going to say my bit, right? And then I'm probably going to end with a question.
Okay.
The question is more than likely going to be, what's your take? So is that cool?
I didn't even hear what you said. You're lagging really bad.
Oh my fucking God. I swear. This is the most ghetto shit. Okay, is this better?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically what's gonna happen is I'm going to give you my take. And then the question, since I said this was gonna be like a question thing, I'm gonna be like, so what's your take? Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay. Am I still lagging? Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
I am still lagging because the fact that you looked at the screen for like 3 seconds. Oh my God. Okay, so we're gonna make this work. But you can still hear
Yeah.
complete sentences, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool beans. Let's see. Yeah, this is very bad network. Fuck you. Anyway, actually, no. We're gonna bleep that out.
Right.
Because
But they shut us.
they could be a
They gonna
sponsor.
shut us down.
Sorry, this is a great platform. Disclaimer. No, for real. 8 minutes bleep. Gotta write that down. 8 minutes bleep that shit out. Period. Okay, I see you're making the edits. So for me, pop culture has done a great job at fucking up the narrative of what it's like to be queer, of what it's like to be black and queer, of what it's like to be anything that isn't cisgender. They just done a great job at royally fucking that up.
Mhm.
And in so many ways, we just allow them to keep doing it, right?
Yeah.
And I know in a conversation that we've had recently, you know, it's been like you've been very open about how you kind of feel that the media has kind of gotten in the way of, or has kind of failed in that representation. And it can be kind of hard to look at pop culture and see, being young and looking at pop culture and to see basically an identity or a persona or a character that is identifying similar to how you're trying, or doing things similar to how you do things.
Mhm.
But it's some type of like cliche attached, be it that they're the best friend to like a popular girl, or they're like some type of comedic relief, or they are the problem, or they are what's another thing, or they have like some type of incurable illness, or they have, it's another one that's on the tip of my fucking tongue that's not coming out. Or they have a temper problem, or they're like a fucking diva, or whatever the case is. Like,
Right. Very sassy. Very sassy.
right. Or they don't talk about their sexuality at all, but it's known. Like,
Right.
it's known. And so to grow up seeing these very boxed in, closeted versions of who I was becoming to be was very frustrating.
Yeah.
And I want to say it wasn't until, I'm trying to think about the first time that I saw myself represented kind of appropriately on a TV show. I want to say it was Glee. I honestly, truly want to say it was Glee.
Yeah.
And that hurts because I wasn't seeing myself through I wasn't seeing myself through like the portrayal of a black gay man. I was seeing myself through the portrayal of a white gay man.
Uh-huh.
One that loves all things fashion and loves knows all these Broadway plays, and it's just very like, has very token gay behavior, I would
Yeah.
say, for lack of a better
Yeah.
term. And I love Kurt. I love what Chris Colfer did with his character. I think he embodied the shit out of that character. And it was great. But I would have loved to see more black gay representation, even on that show, because they had Unique come in, and I maybe talked. Did you even watch Glee?
I watched it up until a certain point. I don't really know the new people. I know old people.
Okay, do you know Alex Newell? He did, or they did, my bad. They did Once on This Island. What else did they do? They did Once on This Island. They did something else too, but I know them. They were basically like the black trans character in Glee. And so they went into their storyline a little bit, but it was a trans storyline. It wasn't a black gay storyline. And I think the only other time, well, there have been multiple times, but gosh, I feel like I'm all over the place today. There have been multiple times, but I think something that's just been something for me that was like widely recognized was definitely like Moonlight. Did you ever see Moonlight?
Nah.
So Moonlight is by Barry Jackson, Barry Jenkins. And he directed, and I want to say he wrote it too. Fact check me, y'all. But I want to say he wrote it too. And he's a queer man. And it's basically this story about this black boy that grew up in Miami who has a mother who's a crack addict, and basically shows his journey with his identity and his struggle with that, and his struggle with love. And like he shared this intimate moment with one of his friends when he was like in high school, and then he never shared another intimate moment with anybody else. And they never went into his sexuality at all. They just really talked about his backstory, and like how when he was growing up he was bullied for being little, so he was called little. And then it goes on to his like later adolescence and his early manhood, and like he's being bullied for being dark and black, so they call him Black. And then it goes on to him being older, and it basically doesn't come full circle until the very end of the movie, and it's absolutely incredible. But it's about this guy who's, you know, we're not even sure if he's queer identifying, but he is this black man that's just dealing with the complexity of his feelings and the complexity of his identity. And he ends up taking out the guy that was in his life that ended up dying, and we don't really hear about how he died, but he ended up taking up after him, and he was a drug dealer. And so it was this very complicated narrative that I feel like it's an incredible emotional experience. And I think anybody should sit down, and I think everybody should sit down and watch the movie, because it's just extremely poetic. The cinematography is absolutely incredible. The melanin pops severely. And for me, when it came out in 2016, I was like, wow, this really shook up the world. And I want to say it won an Oscar for Best Picture. I really want to say that it did, and I think that's what introduced me to it, because somehow, some way, I was just interested in the Oscars that year, and I saw this film, and they were basically talking about how there was a queer storyline, and because I just don't see those as often in like the mainstream pop culture media, I just really wanted to turn around and support it, and it was Black, and I was like, fuck yeah, I want to see this shit, and I loved it. But to bring everything kind of back around full circle, I think it's just really important that we're represented. And it's more like when we're out and proud with it. Like you hear about Frank Ocean and like his bisexuality, but Frank Ocean isn't really, I mean, Frank Ocean is absolutely incredible. He's one of my favorite artists, but he's a little bit off the map compared to like some other celebrities. And so I just think there's just so much more that can be done to further the plot that is Black LGBTQIA plus representation in the media.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at. Like I'm trying to think of some more people, but that is really coming to mind right now. I swear today has just been like the longest but quickest day.
I feel it.
What is old dude from Love, Simon? The love interest, the black guy. He makes music. His name starts with a K. I feel like you don't know. I don't know, Sean. You probably don't know.
Nope.
I think his name is like Keenan or something like that. I'm gonna look it up. I want to
Don't
say
take
it's like
forever.
oh right, because child,
Cause the first intro, you child 20 minutes.
honey, trying to find that darn clip. I mean, I
Right.
swear to God, I would be a lot more quick if my internet was as quick as the neurons in my head. His
I
name
feel it.
is Keenan. Keenan. I think it is Keenan. But he's this gorgeous black boy, very gay. Um, then you have like the Jaden Smiths and the Tyler the Creators of the world that be playing around with asexuality. When I honestly think they probably good and gay too. And then I'm trying to think about some more black
Oh my goodness.
people. I mean, there are a lot of black trans women. You have Billy Porter, but he even talked about how difficult his journey was, how he's
Yeah.
been in the industry for over 30 years, and nobody was willing to take him seriously because they were trying to put him in all these gay roles. And then, thank God for trans women, because Janet Mock came and she made a platform where we have the MJ Rodriguez and the Dominiques and the India Moores of the world and the Angelica Rosses that really advanced that narrative for Black trans women in the media.
Mhm.
So I feel like I've been talking a lot, but what are your thoughts?
I definitely agree. I think, and when can you hear me okay, first of all?
Yeah, you sound great.
Okay. I have to keep asking because I'm the sound nigga for this
Okay, sound
podcast.
nigga.
Sound nigga.
What?
But I don't know. I have to agree on a lot of that stuff.
Mhm.
And because I guess I really was thinking about what I wanted to sort of address when it came to like what does pop culture mean to me.
Uh,
And I think you definitely went the media route. Things I jotted down. I jotted down Greek life. Greek
oh,
life and music. And I only jotted those things down because when you think pop culture, like pop culture are things that really sort of stimulate people to act a certain way. At least for me, I'm not sure how you define it for yourself, but I think you just ooh. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. That's how you know I'm about to say something good if I'm burping like that.
let it out, honey.
But I think you touched on, even though you touched on media, your overarching of what you were talking about when it came to what our sense of normal is just isn't defined. And I don't think it's just
Yes.
in media, but I think it's across a lot of different things that we sort of include in our day-to-day life. And
Mhm.
me just sitting and thinking about Greek life, I'm like, oh shit. Greek life is something that influences like so many things. Like Greek life is just transformed within the past century, not centuries, because some of them are only a century years old, not even a century, but um from the time that they were founded, like they have really played a huge role in how we sort of view each other. And definitely when a lot of the social things of the organizations really start coming to the light, and then the technology age hit, they really started influencing how people interact on a college campus. Um, and the only reason I bring that up is because I think my time just away from college, and as I take some steps back from my fraternity, because I've been fucking knee deep in that shit
Mhm.
for the past couple of years, but
Nipsey.
it I think it's played a huge role in how I sort of see myself. And we've been talking for months at this point. about me just being comfortable in my identity and
Yeah.
how I don't know, I'm just now coming to terms with like a lot of problematic things that I've been around and I've just sort of stomached um over the past couple of years. Um but it's so funny that you brought up those different things in media because and it's having me make these parallels because I recently watched Disclosure on Netflix,
Mhm.
and that really just sort of furthered my perception on what's being sort of broadcasted to me. Because when you think about Greek life, you don't think trans, you don't think
Mm.
bisexuality, LGBTQ.
Mhm.
Granted, I mean, even if you keep it on my scale, like you have people like me who are very prominent people or
Mhm.
people who are really about action in the organizations, but those aren't the people you're seeing on, those major pedestals. And
Yeah.
honestly, um, when I saw Greek life on media, it was this very cisgender macho man, very pretty girl. Um, And those are some stereotypes that we've gotten over in Greek life in the past couple of years. Cause like some things have been associated with certain organizations and all that other
Right.
stuff. But really it was very like, I'm the shit black, I'm elite black. And that's what organizations have given off. And you really didn't see people who identify.
Mm.
Um, and it's especially now, it's a thing that drives how people act. And I just find it so problematic now because you have people like me who are really just sort of floating and don't really have safe spaces to go to.
Mm.
So you have people who get in these organizations and it's like, all right, like I joined this for a reason and I joined this to be a part, but I don't really see where I can fit in at. And when you do actually stumble across those things, I mean, to be honest, sometimes they're trying to fuck you.
Mm.
Other
Wow.
times they're DL. Um,
Whew.
and child, we're not even about to get into that. But
Okay.
it just further drives in this sense of like, damn, what is normal for me? Um,
That's powerful.
yeah, and I don't know, that's where my head goes a little bit. And I think it aligns with your idea of we just don't see it growing up. And I think because I think I said, I don't know, I may have talked about this in our intro thing, but it's crazy, our intro to religion, but it's crazy how some of the same things are lining up because I talked about how, things didn't really bother me till later. Like things really aren't bothering me till now.
Mm.
Um, and it's like I'm just now being exposed or just now really realizing it's like, all right, this shit is not okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's not okay for for you to be the token black of your organization. It's not okay for you to be, I said token black, token gay, for your
I
chapter.
mean, shit.
And I mean, if we want to get into that other part of Greek life, I don't know nothing about that, but I know about D9. Um, I don't know. I mean, those are some of the things that first pop up in my head when it comes
Mhm.
to just range of influence, because I feel like it is a thing that's not only influencing college campuses, but I mean, you've seen influences of Greek life, D9 Greek life, in music and
Correct.
um I mean, mainly in music. I mean, because Missy Elliott, she did like a whole feature with Greek life and did a whole challenge surrounding one of her singles. So like,
Beachella.
Right. I mean, shit. Hell, yeah.
There was an entire
Thing.
step, cadence, a
Right.
whole underground
Right.
situation.
And I think I've just really started speaking up on that stuff. And I was already saying things prior to me watching Disclosure, but I definitely started speaking up after that because they just put it into perspective of how we're conditioned to just this negativity associated with our identity and things like media, music, Greek life, whatever it may be, these main things that, honestly, we influence to some extent.
Yeah.
Not even some extent, but
to the entire
right,
extent.
right. They reinforce these negative things associated with
Yes.
the identity. And I don't know, I break down sometimes. I think I've recently just gotten to this point where it's like I just want to see a person who looks like me, a person who loves like me to be okay. Because let me tell you, I brought up Designated Survivor. I'm gonna keep bringing up this show, but the last season of that show addresses so many things that is going on in this country. Everything from the pandemic to trans people and what their struggles are in this country, and then even like LGBTQ. Well, trans is a part of that, but they specifically focused in on they had a trans character and then they had a gay character as well. But even with that, which go it was good to see them. Like I was really happy because I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't really watch shows, and it was a show based in the White House too. So I was like, I don't even see shows that like have like this traditional sort of ideology going. You think about the White House, you think about like conservative people, conservative white people, whatever it be. And that's not even necessarily reach, or that's not necessarily true because there's liberals and stuff in the White House too. But you just think a very conservative idea of what America is. That's a better way to explain it. But to see those the trans character and the gay character in there, I was like, oh my gosh, this is cool.
Oh, they're in the White House?
Yeah. Like the trans character is the sister of the first lady. Which the first lady died, so or killed per se. But the sister who was trans was actually having like direct conversations with the president and like being a part of the campaign and all that stuff.
Love that.
But she was white. And then the black character or the gay character, he was black. He ended up having HIV. And one thing I can say, I was happy to see both of them, but instantly they took the storylines, and granted they're showing things that are actually happening.
Right.
And I can't even, now that I think about it, Carlton, because they showed the things that are happening, they shed light on them, but I felt the way at first. I'm not even gonna lie, but as I sit and think about it, and as we go into this conversation, I'm like, okay, it makes sense why they did this, because they showed I won't say stereotypical, but one of those storylines that we always see. So like a trans woman who's come back after she's transitioned, they haven't seen her in years, but now she's back and popping back up, and it's like, oh my gosh, you're different. And then with the black gay male, him having HIV, and disclosing that to his partner. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, you saw some of the typical reactions when you have that stuff.
Mm.
But the way the writers did it is not only did they show that storyline, but they showed resolution to it and how to deal with those problematic things.
Love that.
Because with the black gay male, his storyline, and he basically he didn't disclose his status to his partner. But the reason he didn't disclose his status is because he was already medicated, and he was like, I understand I'm supposed to legally do this, but I was not a harm to you. And of course, you know, the stigma surrounding HIV and all that stuff, his partner like responded negatively, very negatively, like talking about don't ever talk to me again and all this other stuff. And it's like, my nigga, come on. But they brought it full circle and basically showed a scene where the partner actually ended up coming back to the guy, apologizing and talking about my gay, because they were both black. And he was like, I'm sorry. I responded very negatively. And my black doctor, my gay black doctor, told me that I was stupid to respond the way that I responded. And I don't know. I don't see a lot of representation that shows that type of stuff. And I still find it problematic that the only gay black character had HIV. I still find that problematic in its sense. But let me backtrack. I still find it problematic because that was the one time for a normalized character to be existed in a space like the White House, you know, to show that through media. And on the flip side of that, I think they did a great job of showing the trans woman, but she was also white. And I think when we think about black trans people, even taking it past black gay identity, but black trans people, if you sit there and bring back some of the stuff associated with disclosure, we have a lot of stuff that's out in popular culture, in media, in mainstream society that sort of projects this, I'm nauseous, or that's sickening, or that's not natural, you know, things. And I think it's just really time for us to start addressing it. Because I even had to recognize my privilege in the spectrum when it came to that stuff. Because it's like, all right, people crack gay jokes here and there now, but when you look at all of the references when it comes to trans people, it's always this. I mean, you saw the documentary, like it's just negative, and I didn't even think about it like that. I was like, oh my gosh, that's funny, but it's like, oh shit, that's not funny. That's like somebody literally lives that life. And if I'm already struggling as a bisexual male, I can only imagine what those people are feeling.
Right.
And those people who identify feeling. So I don't know. That's where my head goes with a lot of this stuff. I'm not sure if that sparks anything like from you. Everything that I talked about.
I think it was great that you brought it back to the general scope, because pop culture is far beyond the media, even though the media is a huge chunk of that. I think pop culture, to what you said, is about the things that influence us as a society, as humans, and be that music, which is, I mean, part of media, be it organizations that you're a part of, be it just the idea of like a collection of people that I don't believe. I'm trying to think, because I don't want to consider family being pop culture, but like I want to say a collection of people that have influenced what that culture is. And
Yeah.
so it could even be like the administration, the White House administration could be a part of pop culture.
Right.
Anything I feel like that could be newsworthy, that could potentially be on the news, I feel like, or potentially do something to influence other parts of pop culture. So like you said, Greek life. Greek life definitely influences music, definitely influences media, and movies and films and TV shows. But it's also very interesting how the Black experience does the same thing. But somehow, some way, when it comes to the portrayal of those experiences and not being told primarily by a Black person, which in so many ways we're still trying to infiltrate those spaces. Is
Right.
infiltrate the right word? Anyway, we're still trying to get into those spaces. It's hard to see that representation and actually be something that's valued and an experience that's true and not degrading. And it's not a matter of the Black character having HIV. It's not a matter of, the trans people being on the show being a white trans woman.
Or
Because
being Black and being prostitutes or something like that.
yeah, exactly. And it's like on so many different levels. And that's why I love Disclosure, because on so many different levels, that is somebody's reality. But we've seen it time and time and time and time again. And the dynamics of the human experience are erased because you're dwindling down this person that is so much more than what they do to survive, into this sex worker, into this drug addict, into their disease. And it's not fair, because it's layered. It's more layers to it. And I think that's why I appreciated Moonlight so much, is because it wasn't like, oh, he gay. Because nobody ever discussed that. It really focused in just like on the complexity of the human experience and just going with the flow, honestly. Because I think what makes queer people so amazing is that we've worked our entire life to do what people should just freely be able to do. And unfortunately, pop culture makes it really hard for us to be able to live freely, because pop culture is short for popular culture. It's what people are looking at. It's where they're seeking their information. And it's what gets their attention. And unfortunately, a lot of media, negativity is what gets people's attention.
Right.
And so it's why franchises like Love and Hip Hop and Married to Medicine and The Real Housewives, and why all those celebrity game shows like I mean, this wouldn't really be considered a celebrity game show, but like why all those house shows like Big Brother and Bad Girls Club and Jersey Shore were like, people jumped onto them and they lived, like, literally stuck an IV into their arm that was connected to the fucking cable
Right.
on a TV, because they lived through the drama, the mess. And so when it comes to something different, or something that is, I mean, it's not really different. It's just, I don't even know, because queerness has been around since the beginning of humankind. Like, trans people weren't born yesterday. Gay folks weren't born yesterday. Lesbian studs weren't born yesterday. Trade wasn't born yesterday. DL people weren't born yesterday. And so it's like now we have this focus toward a new type of something. And I think the media is taking, and the pop culture is taking a sweet ass time trying to unfold all these different layers. Because in so many ways, and this is where it always comes down to that conversation about, well, I'm Black first or this first. Because in so many ways, we're still trying to get to certain spaces as one group of people. And then is this other group of people that are trying to get these things. And then it's the intersections that are also trying to get different things. And I think what needs to happen is that the narrative needs to be, let's push the human experience, right?
Right.
Let's
As a
push the
whole.
fact that white people can be in white spaces and white people can have stories that are very complicated, but so can Black people, right? And it's this huge thing. And I keep going back to media because I think that's where my head is half the time. And that's kind of where some of my education lies. But I think the narrative is pushed from the very jump. It really starts with the creators. And unfortunately, I feel like a lot of creators are in these weird situations where they have to do what's marketable. And unfortunately, mess can be that. Uh-oh.
We're going.
Perfect. I don't really know where I left off. I think I was talking about what was I talking about? Oh, I was talking about the layers of the human existence. That's what it was. And so, like, it's important to tell everybody's stories, right? Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's important to tell everybody's stories. White, Black, Asian, Latinx, women, trans women, trans men. It's important to dive into all of that. And I think when pop culture pushes how important it is to just focus in on that, I feel like we won't have no choice but to like converge and to adapt, because that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, I think pop culture aligns with religion in a lot of ways. And it's almost, we've had these conversations about religion and what that does for people and what that causes people to do. But people have shifted away from that. But it's crazy how they're low-key doing the same thing with pop culture. And this idea that you're supposed to act this certain way or be this certain way. Or that these things are okay. And what's crazy about it is pop culture is very fluid through all of it. Like, pop culture is literally the reason why people like got away from institutions of education, religion, whatever it may be. Like, popular culture could be whatever people make it to be, but somehow, some way, we still fall into these constructs of how we should act and what should be normal and all this other stuff. I just find that so crazy.
Well, I also think it's because of the money attached to it too.
No, that's real. That's real.
It's like, okay, so people may not morally sit with this. So what's the angle that we can use so the representation is still there? Because I know for a fact that's where it comes down to. It comes down to people, where the money is, and
who's gonna watch it, and
who's gonna watch it, are they gonna boycott the entire station? Like, to what extent can we push the envelope? Right. And so, for what it's worth, I see the hesitation, but at the same time, I think there can be a better job done, simply because, and I mean, it just comes with the right people being in the right writers or the right director, because, in television, it's about the writer's room, and for film, it's really about the director's vision. And so it really just comes with us, people like us, getting in those spaces and making it happen. Because it's crazy. When you're young, you're like, oh my God, the world is so big and everything seems to work. And then you get older and then you're like in these places that you used to think worked so well and you realize that they don't. And so, for what it's worth, I think as a people, we still have a very adolescent mentality when it comes to where we can be in that change.
Right.
And we have to realize that we can actually be the change that we want to see.
Yeah.
And so, in trying to figure out placement with popular culture, and who we are as people, I think, first off, us doing this podcast is our way of trying to change that space. For what it's worth, podcasts, any type of media, to me, has the ability to influence pop culture, has the ability to be pop culture.
Right.
And so us talking and utilizing our platform, we don't know who's listening to our shit and is being inspired by it and is turning around and going to this huge studio or this huge network and is trying to pitch something based off of something that they heard from
Yeah.
VGO. And so, and then to flip it on its head, we can take these ideals and these ideas and make it into something that is very influential.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm glad that you took it and you were like, I think Greek life, because I believe in so many ways, especially in the Black community, Greek life is it. I mean, I feel like in all types of communities, if you have a history of some type of Greek life
Yeah.
or some type of secret organization, or it doesn't even have to be a secret. I'm saying that like it's an Illuminati or some shit. But some type of organization, be it like Masons or Eastern Star that goes all the way back to like our founding fathers and shit. Like,
Yeah.
or to like go to a certain school. Like when you go to Kennesaw State University, the
Yeah.
culture is KSU.
Right.
It's hooty hoo. Did I say that right?
I don't be saying that shit, so
Yeah, I don't think anybody does, because I said it to Keenan the other day and he was like, but
I mean, you see, I had the same response. I was like,
he was like hooty hoo. Like I said hooty hoot, and he was like hooty hoo, and I was like, okay.
I
And
mean,
he's a
I
freshman,
say,
so.
I mean, I be ignorant sometimes. I'd be like, hooty hoo, motherfucker, or some shit like that.
Well, I know at Southern, we were like to this day, if I see somebody with some Georgia Southern apparel, I'll be like, Georgia, and they'll say Southern back. It's a call and response thing. That's the culture. And so culture in itself has a very, like, cultures just have that influence
Yeah.
over groups of people. And pop culture is like, it goes beyond that. It's the idea of like all these different cultures kind of finding a more vast,
Yeah.
more conglomerate culture that they can just kind of like settle in and find similarities on. And I think when it gets, it's very muddy, it's very complicated, but I think it's something that we can do. We just got to keep pushing for it. And in so many ways it's happening, but it's like, is it really? Like, I'm tired of turning on the television. And like, I thank God for Ryan Murphy comes to mind. He tells the stories, but he's a white man that trusts, that Fox trusted, that Netflix currently trusts. We need to be in those spaces. We need to figure out what those spaces are. I think something that I really want to bring up, and then I'll probably nip it into the butt because I want to leave us some conversation to have with our guest. But this series on Netflix called Hollywood.
Okay.
It's Ryan Murphy and Janet Mock, and basically they reimagined the story of Hollywood, of cinematic Hollywood, which was post World War II. And they basically retold the story to make it like if basically gays, blacks, and women ran Hollywood. And so like the largest production company at the time, A Studios, was ran by a white man, but the white man, did he die? He was sick. Did he eventually die? I don't remember, but I know he was sick and he was away from the studio for a second, and he actually gave the studio to his wife to run. And so his wife was greenlighting productions and this huge production that, and I'm giving a lot of spoilers, y'all. I'm like, spoiler alert. But this huge production studio was like about to embark on like this change. And they knew for a fact that they were going to get backlash from the South and that it was probably going to be banned in certain theaters. But it was this picture that was written for a white woman or a white lead. but written by a Black man who
Mhm.
was, I want to say, the either son or the grandson of a slave. I think he was a son of
Mhm.
a slave or former
Mhm.
slave. And he had wrote this picture, and his idea was, I need to write this picture for white people because it's the only way that it's going to get in the studio. But he ended up getting a director, like the studio ended up picking up the film. They got a director that was half white, half Filipino, but passed as white his entire life, and wanted to use this as a coming of age to kind of like show that, um, to showcase Black people and to showcase the work of queer people. And
Mhm.
so the white lead ended up becoming a Black lead, and they changed the name of the film, and they you know ended up winning Academy Awards. Like it won Academy Awards, and it was featuring this Black lady, which, I
Mhm.
mean, we all know history. Like, after fucking slavery was abolished, we weren't given the things that we were promised as African Americans. Um, we weren't given all of those things. Jim Crow was very alive and well in the South. And this was staged even before, like, I want to say Emmett Till happened in the South. And so it
Mhm.
was this understanding, like, they never really go into the South. It was just all staged in Hollywood. And so things where it was just this understanding that things were kind of free and they could get away with a little bit more things. But there was even like there was there was an interracial storyline. Like, there were a lot of layers to it, is
Mhm.
essentially what I'm trying to get at. And those layers made it very interesting to unfold it because we all know the reality of America during that time.
Right.
But I think what was beautiful about it is that it opened up a space for those it though it was kind of like through this like fantasy lens, it opened up the conversation for the complexity of these storylines and how they can be approached.
Mhm.
Because when I tell you, like, there was a part where, like I told you, it was a Black gay writer. He fell in love with this white man who was actually inspired based off of the life of a real person, Rock Hudson, who was said to be like the first Black nothing. He was white, the
Mhm.
first gay man to be in like modern American cinema. And
Mhm.
I think, shit, I could be making all this up. I ain't Google though, so Google it if I'm wrong. Um, and like, they were together and they showed up to the Academy Awards together, like holding hands and everything, and they were booed. And so it
Mhm.
was like still that aspect of like, people didn't agree with it, but it wasn't, oh, you can't be in this space. Oh, your story can't be told. Oh, like, the
Mhm.
oppression didn't go to the boardroom. It wasn't in the boardroom. The oppression was everywhere else. But it was a
Right.
success nonetheless. Like I said, literally, um, they won Academy Awards, and the Black writer won an Academy Award, and he
Hmm.
said at the Academy Awards that he was gay,
Right.
and this was like age in the 40s, and so, like, I say all that to say, and to what I was getting at earlier, like, it just opens up the window that complex narratives can be talked about. Um, we just have to become used to it, and the writers' rooms have to be comfortable portraying
Right.
those stories. And the only way that's
Right.
going to happen is if you have the representation. You can't
Yeah.
be a cisgender white man trying to talk about the Black trans experience. That's
Right.
incorrect. Unless you've done your fair share of research by studying and understanding and having conversations with Black trans women, you cannot accurately create that experience, which I feel like tends to be the issue with a lot of the media that we take in.
Right.
Um, and so, for what it's worth, it's very interesting how layered it is, but we have to be in a conversation in order for it to happen. Like, we have to be in the conversation. We have to be a part of the projects.
And Carlton, because I hear that, but I think where I guess I said Bacardi. Jesus, I'm thinking about drinking. I think because it's good to hear
Mm-hmm.
an experience like that and an example like that, because I mean that's big. Like you being in Hollywood and then especially during that time period, that's big. But I think what I just see, and I just think popular culture reinforces negative things, and not even in the sense of what it puts out, but even the culture behind the scenes. It just reinforces these negative things because you have that on one side of things, but you think about what I learned through my music education. You know, the whole thing behind Broadway and you know
What
barbershop
about
tunes.
Broadway?
Um, like all of that stuff was influenced by people of color, but it didn't allow that window for
Right.
people to, for people of color to even get into those spaces. And while your example is very valid, I feel like what happened then, with people of color influencing those popular spaces like Broadway, like music. Because even when you think about music, like this genre of pop, white people were waltzing and shit.
Right.
We brought, and granted they were doing 1, 2, 3, 4, but we were
Yeah, they're all
we
derivatives
right, right,
from our notation, from jazz, from blues.
right. I mean, even take it because all of that stuff derived from the fact that we weren't able to learn music, so we delayed the music when we played it back. So
Right.
that's where syncopation comes from. So
Mm,
you think about all of that stuff, and you bring some of those oppressive tendencies.
mm,
I feel like it. I feel like those oppressive tendencies tend to stay in pop culture.
mm,
Um, and further push us away from the representation that we need and for us to have those conversations.
mm,
Um, and that's just how I feel about it. About this day and age, because even taking it, this may be a loose parallel, but I was having a conversation about the influence on education or music
mhm,
on education, and how like people in the rap game and all this other stuff, it's like they're selling this dream of you can be an entrepreneur, you can do this, you can do that, you don't have to go to school. And granted, that's fair and true, but when you put things in context of this nation and the things that we need to do to actually influence, it's not necessarily true all the time. And granted, we established that pop culture was influential and it impacted how things sort of run, but I think it also creates a false perception to
uh,
people. And I think that's where I think I'm really getting at when it comes to it. It reaffirms some things sometimes because, all right, we finally see that black person in media. We finally see that trans person in media, gay person in media. It's like, oh, we have representation. No, we don't.
right.
And I think that's what I'm really trying to get at. Even coming back to that conversation, it's like that conversation when it came to music influencing the masses. It's like, in order for us to truly make a change in this country, we have to do certain things. We have to be lawyers. We have to be politicians. We have to be judges. Because it was a whole, we could probably dive into it another time, but it was a whole conversation centered around there's not this huge push for getting in those spaces to actually make a difference. And they were telling me like, well, popular culture and music and all that stuff, like if you get in those spaces you can make the difference, because who's to say you get in that space you can't influence somebody to do better.
Mm,
But I was like, you guys are forgetting the actual context
mm,
of what's going on. And this is probably a whole different sort of thing when it comes to pop culture. We can attack this thing so many different ways, but
Mhm.
I think it creates a false sense of where we are sometimes. And while I do see us getting representation, I just think there are a lot of things right now that are sort of trending. Because I mean, you said it best. There are a lot of things that are influenced by money. There are things that are influenced by the people who are going to be engaging in these different trends and stuff. Which honestly, it probably just shows the true colors of this country.
Mhm.
um and the undertones of it. But I don't know. That's sort of where my head goes in response to just you talking about that story. Um because I feel like
Yeah,
that's
it's fucking
what's
loaded.
happening. Yeah.
It's fucking loaded. I will say it till I ain't got no voice box to do so. I cannot wait until our generation is in charge because the decision will be up to us. It'll be
Right.
us. And so right now, it's a lot of white men who have these morals that don't make sense, um, that are making these decisions and that are moving money and all this stuff. Before you know it, I mean, for what it's worth, and this is just me being optimistic, I'm just praying that our generation just wakes the fuck up.
Yeah.
And we really pay attention to
I'm just
what
hoping we can
older
break past
generations are
some of
doing.
the I'm just hoping that we can break past some of the trends and stuff that are still problematic. Because I know we've made a lot of headway with our generation. We talk about that all the time. And how we're sort of in this weird space of like conforming and assimilating and like, fuck no, I'm not gonna do that shit. I'm gonna wear my hair how the fuck I want to wear it in the workplace.
Mm,
You know, shifting in that energy, I just get so concerned because I don't know. You look at all these things that influence us in pop culture, and it's like, I don't know. I really don't know. You know, I I don't know. I'm trying to. I'm cynical, so I think I've just been pushed into that space more recently, but
hmm
I don't know.
I
I
mean,
get so concerned.
for what it's worth, we still broke, and that's what the 20s is about. It's about living your life and being broke. I don't think people really figure out what the fuck until like 40,
Yeah.
and I guess that's why I'm so hopeful. But I'm a lot more futuristic than you are. You like the tangible. You like things to be tangible now,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
not. I get it because that mentality is going to be exactly what pushes us there.
Hopefully.
Like I very much so believe that, and I fucking have to because I
Yeah.
mean things just have to get better, honey. They just have to get better. Or what the fuck is the purpose? Like, what is the
Right.
purpose? It can turn into a whole like therapy session. I feel like I tell that to my mother every like 4 months. I question the purpose of life, and she just like, you just gotta do it. I hate that answer, but when I'm not in that headspace, I'm very much so like, you just gotta do it. You just gotta do it. Because if you
Right.
don't do it, who the hell else is? Like, who's gonna do? You have all these ideas. If you just weren't here all of a sudden to not execute those ideas, then who the fuck is gonna do it?
Right.
Um, so that's just kind of where I am with that. But
Yeah.
um, okay, well, I do want to leave some combo for our
Right.
guests.
We done touched on a lot of stuff.
We have touched on a lot of stuff, but this is stuff that we're definitely going to dive into more when we have our guests. Sean and I, as we've said, we have our own bias, and oftentimes our bias overlap
Right.
because we're best friends.
Right.
And we have very similar life experiences, but we want to bring
Mhm.
on guests to keep things kind of um, as balanced as we can, and to
Right.
offer education on some things that we like education in, to offer different and fresh perspective. And so we just really want y'all to stay tuned in and
Yeah.
really fuck with us through our technical difficulties in light of
Yeah.
this bitch called Corona.
Yeah.
Fuck
This
her.
some bullshit.
It really is some bullshit, but we're doing what we can and just spreading our Black boy magic in every way that we possibly can. So we appreciate y'all for fucking with us.
Yeah.
Period. Periana. All right. Any final thoughts? You want to leave them with something?
I'm in one of those moods again after we done talked about shit because I'm just like,
This is gonna be a draining season for Sean and I, y'all.
it is. Oh my god.
But this is growth. Like the fake vines actually not like the fake vines on my wall.
Because I was like, those don't grow, baby.
Those don't grow. But yikes! Look at there. Damn. Like the trees, like the plants in my living room.
Okay.
Bam.
I love how you had to reach for those.
Honey. Everybody put your hands up. Everybody put your hands up.
No, I think my sort of where I am now, pop culture can be a beautiful thing. It really can. I mean, I eat pop culture. Like, I think it has this fluidity where like a lot of different, like you said, cultures can come together. So Black culture can come together. Black and gay culture can come together. Like a lot of these intersectionalities. That's gonna be the word for the season. We might as well post that on the Instagram page by itself.
Intersectionality. We're gonna do one of those head ass posts where it goes across the entire like row. Intersectionality. We can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think we just have to we have to realize, just like religion, just like some things in social justice where we can drop the ball. And the moment we keep that ball rolling, we can, I mean, I'm not gonna say drop it because people's lives at stake here. Don't drop the motherfucking ball.
Right.
But
bitch,
if we keep this thing going, I think we can really push for the better. Not only for the identities that we talk about on this podcast, but anybody who is just experiencing the bullshit of oppression and discrimination.
Or even if they're not, experiencing it, I guess would be the same thing. But even if they're just sympathetic.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of people that I've had conversations with, especially recently, who are just like, I just can't, I'm not even a part of this community. I'm not even Black. I'm not even gay.
Right.
I'm not trans.
And I'm just like, damn.
And I'm over it.
Right. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's exactly it.
Okay. I live for it. Mine is a quick and simple. Just share love, my guy. In so many ways, I just believe the world's problems would be solved if we just led with love. And that shit sounds corny, but the fact that it sounds corny is a problem.
It's probably
it's the problem.
Right.
Normalize. Do it.
Normalize
love. Like, what the fuck? But literally, it's the thing that divides us. It's the fact that we're trying to. This is unrealistic power complex. It is not.
Right.
It is not 2 BC. Like,
yeah.
Stop with this animalistic ass bullshit and have a conversation. Stop assuming and stop leading with hate and give people the benefit of the doubt sometimes. Like,
right, and just think about it.
But just think about it. Don't be so gung-ho to get your nigga back. sometimes it's not the bitch fault.
Right.
Sometimes it's not that. Maybe it's your nigga fault. But you know what?
Right.
It could be your fault too. So just take a step back, think about what the fuck you gonna say to stop being so damn quick tempered. And this is coming from me. Stop being so damn quick tempered and think through situations and try to figure out better ways to just spread love.
Right.
Like, even if you gotta stop fucking with somebody, you can stop fucking with them out of love. Like, I can't deal with you. And you don't gotta say shit else. And stop, y'all. Stop putting too much thought behind these read receipts too.
Yeah.
Like, girl, yes, it's a statement, but it's a petty one. Let it go. Let it the fuck go. Red receipts is probably the biggest. It's probably the worst invention because of the subconscious. Because they're intended to like indicate that somebody saw something.
Yeah.
So like for business purposes, you send something off to your boss and the read icon shows up and it's like, okay, they saw it. Text messages, emails, all that stuff is not meant for you to carry out a whole ass conversation. That's person to person shit. Don't be taking these subliminal messages and technology and trying to put a persona behind it, bitch. Have a conversation. And if you do lead with love, my nigga, you won't be so upset all the time.
Right.
And oppressing people.
No, that's what Adidas. Do you remember that that campaign that Adidas did? And it was the two girls, like they were showcasing like two women's shoes, but the girls were like basically one leg was kicked up like they were kissing or some shit. And the clap back. You didn't see that?
No. You have to find it and share that with me.
Adidas did this campaign like I want to say like 2-3 years ago. I think it was the same year the Orlando shooting
legalized. Oh,
either that or the Orlando shooting. And somebody said some negative shit in the comments, and Adidas was like, "Love is love, you dick." Like,
yes.
And I was like, yes.
Period.
And I'm just like, as you talk about like leading with love, I was like, oh shit, like that's an example of like somebody who has like huge influence. Like just like come on. So y'all, that's the energy y'all need to be on the rest of 2020.
Period.
Honestly.
Period. That is the energy. Y'all need to be on fresh energy. Leave that musty shit in March when we were locked down and didn't know shit about COVID. Right. Y'all need to be wearing y'all motherfucking mask. Y'all need to be washing your motherfucking hands, which y'all nasty asses should have been doing from the jump.
Right. Leave that must under. Leave that must under. What did Kid Fury call him? He called him President Goldfish. Y'all need to leave that must underneath that man armpit.
Please just leave it. Leave it. President Goldfish, President. I mean, leave it under his fins, goddamn. You know what I'm saying? Like
President Orange Starburst, goddamn. Because nobody eat the orange Starburst. Do you eat the orange Starburst?
I do, but I don't eat Starburst as much no more because you know they made with pig fat.
Oh yeah, got that pork.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, we're dragging it.
Yeah, we are dragging it, y'all. All right, thanks for joining. We'll see y'all later.
All righty.